The fluorescent lights of the International Space Station hummed softly as Jack Taylor peered through the powerful microscope, his brow furrowed in concentration, blue eyes scanning the slide for any signs of microbial life. At 35, the American astrobiologist had dedicated his career to the search for extraterrestrial organisms, no matter how small. Anything interesting, Jack? Dr. Yuki Tanaka's voice broke his focus. Jack leaned back, rubbing his eyes. Just the usual extremophiles. Fascinating, but nothing new. Yuki nodded, her expression a mix of sympathy and shared frustration. Keep at it. We're bound to find something groundbreaking eventually. As Jack opened his mouth to respond, a shrill alarm pierced the air. Red warning lights flashed throughout the station's modules. What the hell? Jack exclaimed, pushing away from his workstation. Commander Elena Volkov's voice crackled over the intercom, tension evident in her normally calm tone. All personnel report to the command module immediately. This is not a drill. Jack and Yuki exchanged worried glances before racing through the narrow corridors. They arrived at the command module to find the rest of the crew already gathered, faces pale and eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. Elena stood at the center, her posture rigid. We've detected an unidentified object approaching the station at high speed. It's not of Earth origin. A collective gasp rippled through the group. Jack felt his heart rate spike, a potent cocktail of adrenaline and disbelief coursing through his veins. Are you saying it's... He couldn't bring himself to finish the sentence. Elena nodded grimly. We believe it's an alien spacecraft. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. Earth governments were notified, contingency plans were put into action, and the station's defenses were raised. Jack found himself glued to the observation window, watching as the sleek, silver craft drew ever closer. It's beautiful, he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. As the alien ship matched their orbit, a tense silence fell over the station. The crew waited with bated breath for any sign of communication or hostile intent. Suddenly, a melodic series of tones emanated from the ship's communication system. Elena, her face etched with determination, responded with Earth's prearranged greeting signal. Hours of nerve-wracking negotiations followed, conducted through a rudimentary system of mathematical exchanges and simple pictographs. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, an agreement was reached. They're sending an envoy, Elena announced, her voice thick with emotion. One representative to board our station. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as they prepared for first contact. He stood with the rest of the crew in the airlock chamber, palms sweating inside his protective gloves. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, the outer door slid open. A figure stepped through, graceful despite the bulky spacesuit. As the being removed its helmet, Jack felt his breath catch in his throat. Before them stood a woman, or at least a being that looked remarkably like a human woman. Her features were delicate and perfectly proportioned, framed by long, flowing hair that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. But what truly set her apart was her skin, a vibrant emerald green that seemed to glow from within. Her eyes, a deeper shade of green flecked with gold, scanned the assembled humans before settling on Jack. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. Greetings, she said, her voice musical and clear. I am Aria, emissary of Nexus 9. I come in peace and friendship. The crew stared in stunned silence, trying to process the fact that this alien not only looked humanoid, but spoke perfect English. Jack, designated as the primary liaison due to his background in astrobiology, stepped forward. Welcome aboard, Aria. I'm Dr. Jack Taylor. How is it that you can speak our language? Aria's smile widened. My people possess the ability to rapidly acquire languages through tactile contact. When I touched your airlock controls, I absorbed the basics of English. Fascinating language, by the way. So many delightful idioms. Over the next few days, Jack found himself spending more and more time with Aria. Her curiosity about human culture was insatiable, and he found her perspective on the universe utterly captivating. So your people have never encountered other intelligent life before? Arya asked as they floated in the observation module, Earth a blue marble below them. Jack shook his head. No, you're the first. We've been searching for so long. It's almost hard to believe you're really here. Arya's green eyes sparkled with amusement. I assure you, I am very real. She reached out, her slender fingers brushing against Jack's arm. He felt a jolt of electricity at the contact, and not just from the static in the air. Tell me, Arya said, leaning closer, about human relationships. I've observed the interactions among your crew, but there's so much I don't understand. Jack swallowed hard, suddenly very aware of Arya's proximity. Well, that's a complex topic. We form various types of bonds: friendships, familial connections, romantic partnerships. Romantic partnerships? Arya's eyes widened with interest. What are those like? Jack felt his cheeks flush. It's when two people develop strong feelings for each other, beyond friendship. They become physically and emotionally intimate, often forming long-term commitments. Arya tilted her head, processing this information. Fascinating. And how does one initiate such a partnership? Well, usually it starts with attraction, then getting to know each other better, spending time together. Jack trailed off, realizing how inadequate his explanation was. Arya nodded thoughtfully. I see. And is there a formal process for this? A ritual, perhaps? Jack couldn't help but chuckle. Not exactly. It's more of an organic development. Sometimes people go on dates, activities together to see if they're compatible. Dates, Arya repeated, testing the word. What kind of activities? Jack ran a hand through his hair, searching for examples. Oh, sharing meals, watching entertainment together, exploring new places. Arya's face lit up. Like what we've been doing these past few days? Jack froze, suddenly seeing their interactions in a new light. Had he inadvertently been dating an alien? Before he could formulate a response, the station's alarm system blared to life once again. Commander Volkov's voice came over the intercom, tight with tension. All personnel to battle stations. We have multiple unidentified craft approaching at high speed. They do not match Arya's ship's signature. Jack and Arya exchanged alarmed glances. The peaceful first contact was about to become a lot more complicated. As they raced towards the command module, Arya grabbed Jack's arm. Jack, I must tell you something. Those ships, I fear they may be from a rival faction on my world, one that does not share our desire for peaceful contact. Jack's blood ran cold. What are you saying, Arya? Her emerald eyes met his, filled with a mixture of fear and determination. I'm saying that your world may be in danger, and I'm not sure if I can stop it. The alarms continued to blare as they entered the command module, the crew's faces a mix of fear and resolve. As Jack looked from the approaching alien armada to Arya's worried expression, he realized that their budding connection, whatever it might be, was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. The tension in the command module was palpable as the crew of the International Space Station faced the approaching alien armada. Jack's mind raced, torn between the immediate threat and the implications of Arya's revelation. Commander Volkov's voice cut through the chaos. Dr. Taylor, we need Arya's insight. What can she tell us about these ships? Jack turned to Arya, noting the conflict in her emerald eyes. Arya, please. Any information could save lives. Arya nodded, her usual vibrant demeanor subdued. They are the Shadow Clan, a militant faction from my world. They oppose any contact with other species, believing it will dilute our culture. She paused, meeting Jack's gaze. I didn't think they'd follow me here. As Arya shared tactical information about the Shadow Clan's capabilities, Jack couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration for her bravery and a growing sense of protectiveness. The crew worked feverishly to relay the information to Earth's defense systems and prepare for potential confrontation. Hours passed in a blur of tense negotiations and strategic planning. Finally, through a combination of Arya's insider knowledge and Earth's unexpected technological capabilities, they managed to repel the Shadow Clan fleet without bloodshed. As the immediate danger passed, Jack found himself alone with Arya in the observation module. The adrenaline of the crisis still coursed through his veins, making him acutely aware of her presence. I'm sorry, Arya said softly, her gaze fixed on the retreating ships. I never meant to bring danger to your world. Jack shook his head. You couldn't have known. If anything, your warning saved us. Arya turned to him, a small smile playing at her lips. You humans are remarkably resilient. It's, attractive. Jack felt his cheeks flush. Thanks. You were pretty impressive yourself. An awkward silence fell between them, charged with unspoken tension. Arya broke it, her curiosity apparently overriding any lingering concerns about the recent conflict. Jack, she began, her tone hesitant, I've been observing human interactions, and I'm fascinated by your concept of romance. Could you explain it to me in more detail? Jack's eyes widened. Of all the post-crisis conversations he'd imagined, this wasn't one of them. Well, romance is, it's when two people have strong feelings for each other, beyond friendship. They're attracted to each other physically and emotionally. Arya nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. And how do humans express these feelings? I've noticed various behaviors that seem to indicate attraction, but I'm unsure of their significance. Jack ran a hand through his hair, searching for words. There are lots of ways. People might spend more time together, engage in physical contact like holding hands or hugging, share personal thoughts and feelings. Fascinating, Arya murmured. She stepped closer, her emerald skin seeming to glow in the module's soft light. And what about kissing? I've observed this behavior in your entertainment media, but I don't understand its purpose. Jack swallowed hard, suddenly very aware of Arya's proximity. Kissing is, a way to show affection and attraction. It's an intimate act, usually reserved for romantic partners. Arya's eyes lit up with curiosity. How intriguing. Would you demonstrate? Jack nearly choked. Demonstrate? That's not really something you just demonstrate. It's a mutual act between two people who have feelings for each other. Arya tilted her head, processing this information. I see. And do you have such feelings, Jack? The directness of her question caught him off guard. Jack stammered, it's complicated, Arya. We barely know each other, and there are so many cultural differences to consider. Arya's face fell slightly. I understand. I apologize if I've made you uncomfortable. I'm simply trying to learn about human customs. Jack felt a pang of guilt mixed with a confusing swirl of other emotions. No, it's okay. I'm just not used to such direct questions about, well, about feelings and attraction. Over the next few weeks, Arya's curiosity about human relationships led to a series of increasingly awkward and often humorous situations. She attempted to apply her literal understanding of human courtship rituals, much to the bewilderment of the station's crew. One day, Jack entered the dining area to find Arya presenting Dr. Tanaka with a crudely fashioned bouquet of spare wires and circuitry. Arya, what are you doing? Jack asked, trying to keep the amusement out of his voice. Arya beamed proudly. I'm engaging in the human ritual of gift-giving to express admiration. You mentioned that flowers are traditional, but as we have none aboard the station, I improvised. Dr. Tanaka accepted the bouquet with a bemused expression. Thank you, Arya. It's very creative. As Arya left, looking pleased with herself, Tanaka turned to Jack with a raised eyebrow. You might want to be more specific in your cultural lessons, Taylor. Jack nodded, feeling a mix of embarrassment and an unexpected twinge of jealousy. Noted. As the days passed, Jack found himself spending more and more time with Arya, ostensibly to prevent further misunderstandings. They discussed the intricacies of human social norms, but their conversations often veered into more personal territory. On Nexus 9, Arya explained one evening as they floated in the observation module, we have a concept similar to your soulmates. We believe that certain individuals are cosmically aligned, their energies perfectly complementary. Jack felt a flutter in his chest at her words. That's beautiful. How do you know when you found your, cosmic match? Arya's eyes seemed to sparkle as she gazed at him. There's a resonance, a harmony that goes beyond mere physical attraction. It's as if the universe itself is singing when you're together. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, Jack could have sworn he heard that cosmic melody. The spell was broken by Commander Volkov's voice over the intercom, calling for a crew meeting. As they made their way to the command module, Jack noticed the sidelong glances and whispered conversations among the crew. He realized with a start that his growing closeness to Arya hadn't gone unnoticed. The meeting revealed that news of Arya's presence on the station had leaked to the media on Earth, sparking a frenzy of speculation and debate. Some hailed it as a new era of interstellar cooperation, while others warned of the dangers of alien influence. There are even rumors, Volkov said, her tone carefully neutral, of a potential romantic relationship between a crew member and our extraterrestrial guest. All eyes turned to Jack, who felt his face burning. Arya, oblivious to the implications, spoke up eagerly. "Oh, is this about the human mating rituals Jack has been teaching me? I find them fascinating." The silence that followed was deafening. Jack wanted nothing more than to float out of the nearest airlock. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Tanaka pulled Jack aside. "Be careful, Taylor," she warned. "Your lessons with Arya are raising eyebrows. We can't afford any diplomatic incidents." Jack nodded, feeling a mix of shame and defiance. "I understand, but Arya's not just some diplomatic asset. She's become important to me." Tanaka's expression softened slightly. "I can see that. Just remember, there's more at stake here than your feelings." That night, unable to sleep, Jack found himself drifting towards Arya's quarters. He hesitated at her door, unsure of what he was even doing there. Before he could decide whether to knock or flee, the door slid open. Arya stood there, her green skin luminous in the low light. "Jack, is everything all right?" I'm not sure," he admitted. "Can we talk?" Arya nodded, gesturing for him to enter. As the door closed behind him, Jack felt a surge of nervous energy. "Arya, I need to be honest with you," he began. "These past weeks, teaching you about human relationships, it's made me realize something." Arya's eyes widened with interest. "What is it, Jack?" He took a deep breath. "I think I'm developing feelings for you. Real feelings. And it's terrifying because you're from another world, and there are so many complications, and I don't even know if you're capable of feeling the same way." Arya stepped closer, cutting off his rambling. "Jack," she said softly, "remember when I told you about cosmic alignment? I felt it. With you." Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the concerns about cultural differences and diplomatic implications seemed to fade away. Jack leaned in, drawn by an irresistible force. Their lips met, and it was as if the universe itself held its breath. The kiss was soft, tentative at first, then deepening with a hunger that surprised them both. Jack marveled at the softness of Arya's skin, the faint taste of stardust on her lips. As they parted, breathless, Arya's eyes shimmered with emotion. Is that how kissing is supposed to feel?" Jack chuckled softly. "I think we might have just redefined it." The moment was shattered by a loud bang, followed by the blaring of alarms. The station shuddered violently, throwing them off balance. Commander Volkov's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with urgency. "All personnel to emergency stations. We're under attack." Jack and Arya exchanged a look of shock and determination. Whatever was happening, they would face it together. As they raced towards the command module, hand in hand, Jack realized that their interspecies romance had just become the least of their worries. The International Space Station shuddered under the assault, its metal frame groaning in protest. Jack and Arya burst into the command module, breathless and disheveled. Commander Volkov barked orders, her face illuminated by the flashing red emergency lights. "Status report. Multiple impacts on the starboard side," Dr. Tanaka reported, her fingers flying over the control panel. "Hull integrity at 87% and falling." Jack's mind raced. "Arya, do you recognize the attackers?" Arya's emerald eyes widened as she studied the tactical display. It's a combined force. Shadow Clan ships, but also vessels I don't recognize." "Earth vessels," Volkov growled. "It seems some of your people have formed an alliance with human extremists." The revelation hit Jack like a physical blow. He'd known there was opposition to alien contact on Earth, but this level of coordination was beyond anything he'd imagined. "We need to broadcast a message," Jack said, an idea forming, "to both fleets, to both worlds. Show them what's really at stake here." Volkov hesitated, then nodded sharply. "Do it. We're out of options." As Tanaka worked to establish a connection, Jack turned to Arya. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly. Arya's fingers intertwined with his, her touch sending a familiar jolt through his system. "Together," she whispered. The main view screen flickered to life, splitting to show the leaders of Earth and Nexus 9 side by side. The contrast was stark. The stern-faced human politicians next to the ethereal, multi-hued council of Arya's world. Jack stepped forward, heart pounding. "Leaders of Earth and Nexus 9, I am Dr. Jack Taylor. With me is Arya, emissary of Nexus 9. We come to you in a moment of crisis, as our worlds stand on the brink of conflict." Arya's melodic voice joined his. "We represent more than just our individual species. We stand before you as living proof that understanding and love can bridge even the vast distances between stars." As they spoke, weaving their story of discovery, cultural exchange, and growing affection, Jack felt a shift in the energy of the room. The hostility in the eyes of the Earth leaders began to soften, while the Nexus 9 Council leaned forward, captivated. "Our differences are not barriers," Jack continued, gaining confidence. "They're opportunities for growth, for expanding our understanding of the universe and our place in it." Arya picked up the thread. "In each other, we've found not just a companion, but a new perspective on existence itself. Isn't that the true purpose of exploration? To broaden our horizons, to challenge our preconceptions?" As they spoke, telemetry data scrolled across a secondary screen. The attacking ships were slowing, some breaking off their assault entirely. "We stand at a crossroads," Jack said, his voice resonating with conviction. "We can choose fear, isolation, and conflict, or we can embrace the unknown, reach out across the cosmic divide, and forge a new future together." Arya's skin seemed to glow with an inner light as she addressed her people. "To the Shadow Clan and those who fear change, I understand your concerns, but I've walked among humans, learned their ways. They are not a threat to our culture. They are an opportunity to enrich it." The Nexus 9 Council murmured among themselves, their expressions shifting from skepticism to cautious hope. Jack turned to the Earth leaders. "And to those on Earth who see aliens as a danger, I've lived and worked alongside Arya. I've seen the depth of her intellect, the beauty of her spirit. Our two species have so much to offer each other." He paused, gathering his courage for what came next. "Arya and I, we've formed a bond that goes beyond simple diplomacy or scientific curiosity. We've fallen in love." A collective gasp echoed through the command module and across the video feeds. Jack forged ahead, his hand tightening around Arya's. If two beings from different worlds can find common ground, can form a connection this profound, imagine what our civilizations could achieve together. Arya's voice joined his, harmonizing in a way that sent shivers down Jack's spine. "We offer ourselves as living proof that coexistence is not just possible, but beautiful. Let our story be the first chapter in a new era of interstellar cooperation." As they finished speaking, a hush fell over both the station and the video feeds. Jack held his breath, acutely aware that the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. The silence was broken by a slow, deliberate clap. On the Earth feed, the stern-faced woman Jack recognized as the U.S. president stood applauding. One by one, the other world leaders joined in. On the Nexus 9 feed, the council's colors shifted to a harmonious blend that even Jack recognized as a sign of agreement. "Dr. Taylor, emissary Arya," the president spoke, her voice filled with emotion. "Your courage and your unique perspective have opened our eyes. Perhaps we've been too hasty in our judgments." The lead counselor of Nexus 9, a being of swirling purple hues, added their voice. "Indeed, we see now that there is much to be gained from embracing our galactic neighbors, rather than fearing them." Over the next few hours, frantic negotiations took place. Jack and Arya found themselves at the center of it all, bridging cultural gaps and smoothing over misunderstandings. Their intimate knowledge of both worlds proved invaluable in crafting a framework for ongoing cooperation. As the talks progressed, the attacking ships stood down. The immediate crisis passed, replaced by a cautious optimism. Finally, after what felt like days but was merely hours, a historic agreement was reached. Earth and Nexus 9 would embark on a new era of cultural and scientific exchange, with the International Space Station serving as a neutral meeting ground. As the video feeds cut out and the command module erupted in cheers, Jack turned to Arya. Her emerald eyes shimmered with unshed tears of joy. "We did it," he breathed, scarcely believing it himself. Arya's lips curved into a smile that outshone the stars. "No, Jack, we began it. This is just the start of something cosmic." In the days that followed, Jack and Arya found themselves thrust into the spotlight as symbols of interstellar cooperation. Their story captivated both worlds, inspiring art, literature, and countless discussions about the nature of love and understanding. But amid the whirlwind of media attention and diplomatic responsibilities, they managed to carve out moments of privacy. One evening, as the station orbited over a spectacular aurora, they floated in the observation module, fingers intertwined. "Jack," Arya said softly, her gaze fixed on the shimmering lights below, "do you ever wonder if we move too fast? If our feelings are real, or just a product of our unique circumstances?" Jack considered her words carefully. "I'd be lying if I said the thought hadn't crossed my mind. But Arya, look at what we've accomplished. The understanding we've fostered between our worlds. That's not just circumstance. That's something deeper." Arya turned to face him, her expression serious. "On my world, we have a ritual for affirming a lifelong bond. It's not unlike your concept of marriage, but it goes beyond that. It's a merging of energies, a cosmic alignment that can never be undone." Jack's breath caught in his throat. "Are you proposing?" A playful smile danced across Arya's lips. "I believe I am. Though I'm not sure I'm doing it correctly by human standards. Should I have procured a ring?" Jack laughed, feeling a surge of affection for this beautiful, otherworldly being who had turned his life upside down. "Arya, you've already given me the universe. A ring seems pretty insignificant in comparison." He pulled her close, marveling at how perfectly they fit together, despite their physiological differences. "Yes," he whispered, "1,000 times yes." Their lips met in a kiss that seemed to ignite the very air around them. As they embraced, the aurora below intensified, as if the earth itself was celebrating their union. Months later, as dignitaries from both worlds gathered for the official signing of the Earth Nexus Treaty, Jack and Arya stood hand in hand, watching the proceedings. The document before them promised a new age of cooperation, cultural exchange, and shared scientific endeavors. As the final signatures were applied, applause erupted throughout the station and across both worlds. Jack turned to Arya, drinking in the sight of her. Her green skin seemed to glow with an inner light, her eyes sparkling with joy and possibilities. "So," he said, a grin tugging at his lips, "ready to embark on our greatest adventure yet?" Arya's answering smile was radiant. "My dear Jack, we've already proved that love knows no boundaries, not even those between stars. I'd say we're more than ready." As they sealed their words with a kiss, watched by billions across two worlds, Jack marveled at the twists of fate that had brought them to this moment. What had begun as a chance encounter between two curious beings had blossomed into something that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Their love story, born among the stars, had become a beacon of hope for two civilizations. And as they looked to the future, hands clasped and hearts aligned, Jack and Arya knew that their greatest chapters were yet to be written. The observation module's vast window framed a breathtaking view of Earth below, its blues and greens a stark contrast to the velvet black of space. Jack and Arya floated in comfortable silence, their fingers intertwined. "It's beautiful," Arya murmured, her emerald skin reflecting the soft glow of the planet. Jack nodded, his gaze shifting from Earth to the extraordinary being beside him. "It is, but so is your world, Arya. I can't wait to see it with my own eyes." Arya's lips curved into a smile that never failed to make Jack's heart race. "Soon, my love. Once the quarantine protocols are finalized, we'll be the first to make the journey." As they drank in the view, marveling at the new era of interstellar cooperation they had helped usher in, Jack reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From first contact to saving two worlds from the brink of war, to their upcoming cosmic union, It was more than he could have ever dreamed.